That was a tiny part of my life. I want to tell you my entire story.
Hi, I'm Jack. This is Seen It. And today we're starting with a riddle. What do these three movies have in common? Well, they're all from this century, they all got Oscar nommed, they all have an A in the title, but there's something else.
It suddenly hit me, the colour. Ugh.
They're all regraded, recut, and re-released in black and white.
And I thought, oh my God, that's how the movie should have been.
That's Fury Road director George Miller talking about a decades-long dream.
I always dreamed of putting a Mad Max movie out in black and white.
But before we dive in,
of course, the obvious question is, why?
Why remove the colour?
I don't know.
For the record, Bong Joon-ho is joking here. It's something he's done before.
버전을 했었고 그때도 재개봉도 되고 뭐.
But despite an almost identical cut,
Yeah, actually movie is all same. The editing and dialogue and everything is the same.
he thought that regrading Parasite spat out an entirely different film.
It's strange. It feels more intense and 더 잔인하게 느껴졌어요. 이렇게 막.
But again, why? It's just a simple color grade. Why would we react differently? Why would we care as an audience?
Something about black and white, the way it distills it, makes it a little bit more abstract.
This is George Miller again.
Something about losing some of the information of colour makes it somehow more iconic.
I'll come back to black and chrome in a bit, but first we've got to talk about how rare this is. In modern cinema, entirely monochromatic grading is almost exclusively associated with indie flicks or special cuts.
I seen it.
Which makes perfect sense, right? Colours are cool, they represent real life, they deliver meaning, they can be the focus of an entire marketing campaign.
Hi, Ken.
And with our terrible attention spans, oversaturated, eye-popping colour film isn't going anywhere.
You got red on you.
It's going to remain the default. Therefore, whether it's just a mood thing,
So having it be in black and white really communicates the misery of the world.
or it's a historically cognizant choice,
It was contextualized in black and white for anybody that watched a documentary on it.
the reasoning for any widely distributed black and white film needs to be airtight these days.
How did he die? Your contact? Not well.
There is, of course, a way to cheat this. Just do both. Include both black and white and colour in your movie.
We have two strands to the movie. One very much from Oppenheimer's point of view, which is the colour sequence, and then the black and white stuff is Robert Downey Jr., Louis Strauss's point of view.
Now, this seems simple. Lots of films do it, but like Nolan's obsession with perspective,
Everything in the colour sequences is from Leonard's point of view. We're always in his head.
there has to be a point to the colour change.
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Commonly, it's used for flashbacks because, you know, old films were in black and white, nostalgia, but usually directors try and give more layers than that.
It's just because I was pissed off.
Like, American History X does the whole backflash thing, but it's also indicative of how Derek was a white supremacist who only saw the world in black and white and has now changed. The Wizard of Oz is a little simpler once again. Kansas is colourless, Dorothy hates it. Oz is colourful, Dorothy loves it.
We must be over the rainbow.
There's deeper subtext within the movie, but it's impossible to miss this colourful symbolism. And then films like Pleasantville introduce colour to an otherwise colourless world to indicate who has broken free from the suburbs' social oppression.
Let's see, she looks like a picture.
Now, all of this is great. I love colour theory, and I love that we're able to still hybridize black and white and colour in film. But
Our generation, we have no chance to make black and white.
production companies don't want to fund them, most moviegoers don't want to see them, so the closest thing we'll get to a full-blown black and white blockbuster is special cuts.
Thanks to the digital technology, with very small budget, we can make black and white version like this. So
Now, some people think these cuts are stupid artistic gimmicks. To be honest, I do too sometimes, but just because it's a gimmick doesn't mean it's bad.
I think the essence of a Mad Max film is the demolition derby.
Mad Max Fury Road is mainly action.
George wanted to make the film wall-to-wall action.
There's barely any dialogue.
A lot of movies have the talky bits and they have the action bits. In this case, they were happening together.
Give me the gun! It's not loaded yet!
And therefore, it's basically just visuals. The biggest indicator or proof of this was the disagreements Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron had with George Miller on set because they couldn't understand his artistic vision.
You doubt that you can get something across without the use of words.
I just really wanted to understand what he wanted, and I just completely failed.
And the reason they couldn't understand him was this.
3,500 panels all around this room, up on boards, and you could walk around the room virtually and play out the movie.
This is the way George Miller likes to work. He prefers visuals over scripts. And this is why the movie looks so crisp, despite the chaos on screen. And the reason something this frenetic is so easy to follow as a viewer is the framing and editing.
Like, what were they smoking in that cutting room?
Miller and his editor Margaret Sixel place the focal point of most shots at the center of the frame, even during action scenes, which means you can process even the quickest of cuts.
All we would hear all the time on the comms was George saying, put the crosshairs on her nose, put the crosshairs on her nose.
That's cinematographer John Seal.
Compositionally, whatever was the center point of that shot had to be in the center of the frame. In the faster cutting that he's got, your eye won't have to shift to find the next subject when you've only got 1.8 seconds of time to do that.
And this brings me back to black and chrome.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
When you take the color out of a movie, it focuses the viewer's attention on the lighting and the focal point, which is even more amplified when the director insists on center framing. This focused attention is true with the coloured version too. The film is more like a choreographed musical than a traditional action flick. But with the saturation gone, you can just completely turn your brain off and let the visuals guide you. This is part of the reason a lot of student films are shot in black and white, because it's such a great way to learn foundational filmmaking basics and highlights a specific on-screen element. For the same reason, there are other prominent black and white edits that communicate this same point, like Soderbergh's famed 2014 Raiders cut. If you want to learn more about this, go check out a great video by my buddy Danny at CinemaSticks. But the main point of Soderbergh's cut was to remove the distractions of colour and dialogue to highlight Spielberg's incredible visual storytelling through blocking and staging. Similarly, in black and chrome, the on-screen action is the story. Max only has 63 lines of dialogue. Furiosa only has 80.
You're bleeding. That's not his blood.
This is ridiculously low for a 2-hour film for the two main stars, but the anemic script economy is indicative of George Miller's dream, to craft a story that makes sense without subtitles. For this reason, Miller thinks black and chrome isn't just a gimmick.
For me, it's the best version of the movie.
It's also worth mentioning that the gimmick label completely undersells the effort that goes into making one of these black and white cuts. You don't just turn the saturation off, it's a collaborative process between the director, the DP, and the colorist.
매 샷 단위로 사실 다 조정을 하긴 해야 돼요. 이게 자동으로 뭐 넣고 무슨 컴퓨터에 한번 뭐 넣어서 돌린다고 되는 건 아니고.
In closing, I'm not trying to convince any of you that black and white films are better than color films. I actually don't believe that myself. I think I prefer the original Mad Max colored version. It's so vibrant and exciting. But I do think there are instances where a black and white version of a film provide a completely different experience and maybe let you focus on elements that you didn't notice before.
This is your way home.
So next time you see one of these pop up on a streamer, maybe give it a chance. You just might love it.
I mean, I knew he was brilliant, but I didn't quite know how brilliant until I saw that. So my first reaction was, oh my God, I owe George an apology for being so myopic.